Phil Crosbie is a stevedore. He unloads ships at Newcastle, north of Sydney. Each day he makes a phone call to a recorded message and is told whether or not he will be needed at the docks that day.
Good afternoon, everybody. Lab requirements 12 midnight on the harbour, K3. Once again, 12 midnight, K3.
He's been a casual worker for the past 2.5 years and says the lack of certainty is a constant strain on his family.
You really can't budget, regardless of how good you are at it. You just cannot plan anything. You can't promise your children anything. You can't say, I'll be at school to watch this, or I'll go and watch you on the weekend, or we can't have a trip to Sydney. You can't do this. You just cannot plan a thing. And that has an impact. You know, young kids don't understand it.
The ACTU inquiry into insecure work has found that up to 2 million Australian workers are casuals. High rates of casualisation occur in hospitality, retail, aged care, higher education, construction and manufacturing. The ACTU report recommends that casual workers be able to gain entitlements over time, rather than remain cut off from the benefits of permanent work.
Yeah, that was a bit of a shocker, I think, to see how many casual people are kind of permanent casuals. And a lot of those in TAFE, but also in retail, in large area, even where there are awards covering people, they still seem to remain on this long-term casual. So we think after a period of time that we ought to deem people as entitled to perhaps annual leave or sickness leave and those kind of very basic entitlements.
In Victoria, 1 in 5 government school teachers are on contracts.
It's devastating impact on these newer teachers to the profession as they get to the end of the year, not knowing whether they've got a job in the new year and being distracted from their core job of teaching children while they're busy making applications for a job.
The report also wants Fair Work Australia to be able to restrict casual work to short-term or irregular employment and greater regulation of labour hire companies. The ACTU president said casual workers are missing out.
The prospect is not very good for people really in this type of work. They never really get a foothold on a career. They can't buy a house because banks aren't keen to give them mortgages. Their lives necessarily don't take on a path that is fulfilling. And this is bad, I think, for individuals, but not only that, it's actually bad for the economy.
Employees with greater job security are more productive, the report says, but business groups say workplace flexibility is essential.
Casual employment is a reality. You know, it might be that in a particular industry, say like manufacturing, 10% of the workforce is casual. It would be much higher in other industries, but it is very important that we maintain a flexible labour market. You've only got to look at Europe, where these economies that have quite inflexible labour markets are really struggling, and that would be a disaster for Australia.
Brian Howe says casual work is a particular problem for young people.
Something like 40% of all casuals are under the age of 25. There's a lot of young people who are simply not making it in that early stage. That's going to mark their whole lives.
One of the impacts of the casualisation of the workforce is a large group who are underemployed.
And the key issue is not just the open unemployment numbers, there is the issue of underemployment. So currently, whilst the unemployment rate's hovering around 5%, you've got another 7 to 10% of the workforce which is reporting that they don't have enough hours. Now, while you've got that group of people, that's around 700,000 people, that's a lot of extra labour that's just scrambling for hours. Now, whilst you've got that underemployment situation, non-standard work will flourish.
At the age of 48, Phil Crosbie says he's desperate to find permanent work.
Let me tell you where I am. Every casual's got his eye out. Every casual has his eye out for another job. Look, myself personally, given the choice between casual and full-time, I'd run for a door to get it. We've had a moment's doubt,
This week's ACTU Congress in Sydney will decide how many of the report's recommendations will be taken up by the union movement. John Stewart, Lateline.